Kai Musk didn't set out to be a hero that day. All he wanted was to show his dad something small, a Falcon 9 rocket model he'd spent 3 weeks building during science class at school. He had painted it in black and white, going so far as to use a toothpick to carefully draw the red X logo. Ms. Rodriguez, his science teacher, said it was the most detailed model she'd ever seen from an elementary school student. Kai was so excited he couldn't wait until the end of the day. He wanted to show his dad right away, wanted to see the surprise and pride in the eyes of the man he admired most. The problem was, today wasn't a good day. "Your dad's in a big meeting," said Ms. Priya, Elon Musk's personal assistant, as the boy was brought into the office. "You can wait in the lounge. There's an iPad, comic books, and orange juice." Kai nodded, but inside he was restless. After staring blankly at the screen for 10 minutes, he stood up. I need to use the bathroom," he mumbled, slipping through the door. Priya nodded without looking up from her laptop. Opportunity. He didn't go to the bathroom. He walked straight down the long hallway that led to his father's main office. At the end of the hall, the massive office door, usually shut tight, was slightly ajar today. Kai slowed down. Any kid would know. You don't disturb grown-ups when they're busy, especially not when the grown-up is Elon Musk. But curiosity pulled him closer. He peered through the crack, and his heart stopped. His father, the man who built rockets, engineered self-driving cars, and dreamed of sending humanity to Mars, was sitting hunched over his desk, face buried in both hands. His shoulders were trembling. The sound in the room wasn't voices, wasn't typing. It was the soft, broken sobs that Kai had only ever heard from himself last year, when he fell off his bike and scraped his knee so badly it bled. His father was crying. The whole world knew Elon Musk as a pioneer, a relentless genius. But Kai, a 9-year-old boy, had never seen this side of his dad. Never. He'd seen him angry, tired, even disappointed. But crying? Never. Kai froze. Part of him wanted to turn around and quietly walk away. But before he could move, his father looked up. His eyes were red, his voice hoarse. "Kai, what are you doing here?" The boy bit his lip, feeling like he'd made a terrible mistake. I just wanted to show you this." He gently opened his backpack and pulled out the rocket model, wrapped carefully in a t-shirt. His father stared at it for a moment, then silently reached out and took it. He turned it over in his hands, his fingers tracing the painted lines. "You made this?" he asked, his voice softer now. "Yes, I painted all the parts. Ms. Rodriguez helped me attach the fins, but the rest I did by myself," Kai whispered, heart still pounding. Elon nodded slowly. A faint smile flickered across his face, like a thin ray of sun breaking through a cloudy sky. "Well done, Kai. You even remember the grid fins. Most adults forget that." Kai smiled, proud, but still sensing something strange in the air. Quiet, heavy. "Dad," he hesitated. Are you okay?" Elon looked at his son. That question, simple and gentle, seemed to crack him open all over again. But this time, he didn't hide. "No," he whispered. "I'm not okay, Kai." And just like that, the door Elon Musk had always kept shut, not just his office door, but the emotional one, swung open. Not because of reports, projects, or billion-dollar meetings, but because a 9-year-old boy asked his father a question that seemed so simple. "Are you okay, Dad?" 2 days later at SpaceX headquarters, night had already fallen as the Tesla Model X slowly pulled out of the SpaceX compound, weaving through the quiet streets of Los Angeles. The streetlights stretched like a cascade of fallen stars, their glow reflecting on the misty asphalt. Almost as if the entire city were trying to imitate the brilliance of the cosmos, Elon tirelessly explored each day. Inside the car, no one spoke. But it wasn't the silence of awkwardness or distance. It was the kind of silence filled with thought, as if two souls were quietly listening to something deeper than words could express. Elon had one hand on the steering wheel, the other resting gently on the small spacecraft model Kai had given him that afternoon, a gift painted clumsily but with great heart. The crooked brushstrokes under the soft interior lights seemed oddly alive, as if the tiny rocket was ready for launch. In the back seat, Kai sat quietly with his backpack on his lap. His wide eyes stared out the window, yet his gaze seemed to drift beyond the night sky, reaching the very edge of the universe, where silent asteroids spun and dreams began to resemble predictions. They arrived at the villa just before 11 p.m. The house was silent, seemingly asleep, with only a few soft lights spilling from the kitchen and down the hallway. Elon paused at Kai's bedroom door, planning to say a simple goodnight and move on. But then, Kai gently tugged at his sleeve. "Dad," he whispered, as if afraid to wake the house. "Can I learn more about Project Phoenix?" Elon raised an eyebrow. He turned and looked into his son's wide eyes, bright with a seriousness beyond his years. He smiled, half joking. "At this hour," Kai nodded. "I'm not sleepy. I want to know more about your dream." Elon stared at him for a moment. Then he nodded. "All right, but this time, we use the home office. Not as high-tech as the main one, but good enough to see what really matters." Elon led Kai into a room filled with the scent of oak wood and the lingering aroma of morning coffee. The walls were covered with rocket schematics, EV wiring diagrams, star charts, and photos of test flights. In the corner, a massive curved screen sat idle, its faint blue glow reflected in Elon's glasses. He powered it on and typed in a triple-layer security code. A sequence of brain scan maps appeared, overlaid with orbital models and neural data charts. "This is a record of last night's dream," Elon said, pointing to a bright red area on the brain map. "Prefrontal cortex, not the usual dream zone." Kai stayed silent, eyes locked on the screen, filled with wonder and focus. "And today, I discovered something interesting," Elon continued, voice low but tinged with excitement. "It seems dreams might have a frequency, like there's some kind of cycle guiding them." He tapped a few keys. A scatter plot emerged on the screen, each dot marking a night with vivid dreams. The bright points formed a curving wave, like a radio signal, ordered, not random. "Remember 3 nights ago, when I couldn't sleep?" Kai nodded. "That night I dreamed of the asteroid changing course, not from impact, but from an artificial gravitational force." "A gravity tractor," Kai said immediately. Elon turned to him, surprised. "You remember?" Kai nodded again. "And I dreamed too. Last night." Elon froze. "What did you dream?" Kai swallowed. "A huge rock floating in space, a white spacecraft chasing it, with the SpaceX logo. Then, it hit the asteroid. There was a massive explosion, debris flying everywhere, still headed for Earth." Elon stared at his son as if trying to figure out whether it was just a child's imagination. But Kai's eyes didn't lie. There was truth in them. "I saw Earth too. Small, fragile." Elon stepped closer and sat in front of Kai. "Are you sure?" he asked. Kai nodded. "It felt just like your dream. So real, like someone whispered to me, 'Don't do it.'" A long silence followed. No words were needed, but something lit up inside Elon. He remembered his very first dream as a boy in South Africa, of machines floating in space, moving along orbits no one had ever imagined. Back then, he thought it was just fantasy, but years later, those very visions inspired the design of the Falcon Heavy. "Maybe," he whispered, "it's genetic." Kai looked up at him. "You think I have the same ability as you?" Elon didn't answer. Instead, he walked to the console and typed, "Brainwave pattern, Elon versus Kai." Within seconds, two brainwave charts appeared side by side, almost identical. "Maybe I'm not alone," he whispered, mostly to himself. Kai stepped forward and gently placed his hand over his father's. "I don't want you to be alone," he said. "I want to help." Elon looked down at his son. In that moment, there was no genius and no child, just two kindred spirits united by a shared purpose: to save Earth. "Then from now on," he said, "you're the official co-partner of Project Phoenix." Kai smiled, not because of the title, but because for the first time, he felt like he was exactly where he was meant to be. Like a rocket finally finding its proper trajectory. That night, Kai lay in bed, clutching a gray stone streaked with glowing blue veins. The Falcon 9 model floated overhead, swaying gently in the breeze from the air vent. He closed his eyes, but his mind had already launched, far, far away. Because now he wasn't just Elon Musk's son, he was part of the mission. He was the bearer of dreams and destiny. 2 days after that fateful night in Elon Musk's secret office at SpaceX, something strange happened again. Late into the night at their private villa in Bel Air, Kai's small bedroom was bathed in the soft glow of a spaceship-shaped nightlight. The wall clock had just flipped to 3:37 a.m. Kai jolted awake, his breathing rapid, cold sweat soaking through the thin pajama shirt printed with planets. He looked around, wide-eyed and panicked. His heart pounded like he just sprinted around the soccer field. In his right hand, he was still clutching the gray stone streaked with shimmering blue, the one his father always called the lucky stone. But this time, it didn't feel lucky. He was scared, really scared. The dream had felt too real, not like the fleeting, chaotic dreams of a 9-year-old. This was clear, vivid, like a real-life documentary playing inside his head. He had seen a massive asteroid, black as coal, slowly rotating in the void. Then a spacecraft approached, too fast. The SpaceX logo was clearly visible on the hull, along with the US flag and the NASA emblem. Kai wanted to scream out a warning, but like in most dreams, no sound came out. Then the ship slammed into the asteroid. A soundless explosion followed. The rock shattered, not into dust, but into thousands of fragments, large and small, still hurtling toward Earth. The only difference now was they were coming from 3 different directions. Kai sat up, hands trembling. Without hesitation, he grabbed his phone and typed one urgent message. "Dad, I need to talk." Now, less than a minute later, the door opened without a sound. Elon stepped in, still in his ash-gray sleepwear, hair tousled, face tired, but his eyes sharp and alert, as if something inside him had sensed this moment was serious. "What's wrong?" he asked, quiet but firm. Kai looked at him, eyes brimming with tears. I just dreamed the Guardian crashed into the asteroid," he whispered. "It exploded, but it didn't stop it. The pieces kept coming. Worse than before. Like, it split into 3, and all 3 are headed for Earth." Elon stood silent, then slowly walked over, sat on the edge of Kai's bed, and placed a hand on his son's shoulder. "You're sure it wasn't just a regular dream?" he asked gently. Kai nodded hard. "It wasn't. It felt like one of your special dreams. I couldn't hear anything, but I knew what was happening, like someone was whispering in my head. Don't do it." Elon sighed, closing his eyes for a moment to gather himself. Then he stood up, walked to the window and looked out at the cloudless night sky. He didn't need to say it. He already knew what he had to do. He'd trusted his own special dreams for years, and now his son, the boy he once thought too young to understand, was delivering a warning he couldn't ignore. "The Guardian," he muttered. "The current design is a kinetic impactor, a direct strike, but if your dream is right..." He turned back, eyes resolute. "Then we need to change course, immediately." The next morning, Elon's home office looked nothing like it usually did. Giant screens glowed with technical diagrams, simulation models, and orbital graphs of the asteroid Apus. Kai sat beside his father, still in his Saturn print pajamas, hair uncombed but eyes sparkling with purpose. This was no longer just his dad's mission. This was theirs. Gravity tractor, Elon said, pointing at a 3D model spinning on the screen. Instead of crashing into it, we pull it off course using gravity. The ship's own mass alters the asteroid's path. No debris, no explosion. But it's slower, right? Kai asked. Elon nodded. At least 6 months, which means we have to start now. His fingers flew across the keyboard. The Guardian model expanded on screen. Solar panels unfolded like wings, the frame reinforced with lightweight, ultra-durable struts. Navigation modules powered by gravity alignment algorithms. But Kai was staring intently at one part of the model. He frowned. Dad, what if the asteroid is spinning? The pull won't be even. It might throw the ship off. Elon turned. What do you mean? If there's only one thruster, it won't adjust fast enough. We need thrusters on all sides. Like in the space game I play, you need emergency boosters to dodge sudden collisions. Elon paused, then smiled. Not the polite smile of a father indulging his child, but the genuine grin of a genius realizing the best idea had come from the most unexpected source. Brilliant, he said aloud. That's even better than what the Hawthorne team came up with. We'll add thrusters on all 4 sides. Faster response, more control. He typed furiously, adding the new thrusters, rerunning the simulation. A message popped up. Stability, improved by 27%. Reaction delay, minus 34 milliseconds. You just officially made Guardian the best version it's ever been, Elon said, eyes still on the screen. And I think you may be the youngest spacecraft engineer in history. Kai blinked, then grinned from ear to ear. So, does that mean I'm officially your partner now? Elon turned, reached out his hand with a smile. Welcome to Team Phoenix, Engineer Kai. Kai shook his father's hand, his small fingers wrapped inside the calloused hand of the man once called the architect of the future. But in that moment, Elon knew it was this boy who might one day save the future of humanity. 3 weeks had passed since the night Kai clutched the gray-blue stone and became the official partner of Project Phoenix. Now the spacecraft Guardian, redesigned with full-body thrusters based on Kai's suggestion, was preparing to carry out the most critical mission in human history: divert the asteroid Apus from its collision course with Earth. NASA Mission Control Center, Houston, Texas, 3:12 a.m. Guardian launch day. Outside, the Texas sky was still blanketed in darkness, but inside the hearts of the hundreds working at Mission Control, a brilliant light was rising. Hope. Kai sat in the special family section, eyes fixed on the screens. He wore a hoodie printed with the logos of SpaceX and Guardian, and in his hand was the lucky stone, a silent ritual connecting him to his father. Elon Musk was in Guardian's main cockpit, attached to a specialized launch module. In his ears was a familiar soundscape, the soft static of comms, the beat of his own heart, and Kai's voice, looping from a saved video he'd watched again and again. You won't be alone, Dad. I'm here. Elon smiled gently, swallowing every ounce of anxiety and pressure. He whispered, barely audible, Thank you, Kai. Thank you for believing in me. When the countdown hit 0, Guardian ignited. Fire burst from all 24 thrusters, tearing through the night sky, rocketing toward the space between Earth and Apus. Back on Earth, Kai closed his eyes. But instead of fear, he smiled. His mind wasn't filled with noise, but with one image: his father, the once lonely hero, doing something no one had ever done before, saving the world. 6 days later, outer edge of the Apus belt, Elon sat motionless, staring at the screen that displayed the massive asteroid slowly rotating in the void. Sunlight cast across its surface, illuminating cracks and shadowy scars. Guardian held position 800 meters away, stable in its gravity tractor mode, a delicate tactic requiring near-perfect precision. He engaged the auto-rotation tracker, adjusting thrusters to maintain a constant directional pull away from Earth. Each movement was careful, tender, like a father rocking his child to sleep. Gentle, loving, and unforgiving of error. Then a warning alarm. Alert. Secondary thruster 3, malfunction detected. Elon narrowed his eyes. Guardian is experiencing reverse axis stress. He switched to manual mode, trying to stabilize the gravitational pull. But then, a light shudder, a shard of ape house had splintered off and grazed Guardian's solar array. Signal interference began. He had minutes to make a decision. If I keep pulling, Guardian will explode before ape house fully shifts. He looked at the gray stone in his palm, searching for guidance. And then he remembered. You dreamed it would explode. Fragments everywhere. He nodded slowly. Thank you, Kai. Your dream warned me. Elon opened the emergency pod, initiating evacuation. But even then, he downloaded all navigation data, gravitational logs, and, most critically, a rock sample collected by the onboard drone from Apausa's surface. 18 hours later, Earth, the world held its breath. Guardian had gone dark, and Elon Musk, the man many called Earth's last wall, was gone, lost in space. In mission control, Kai hadn't moved in 10 hours. No food, no sleep. Just a stone in his hand, eyes locked on the void, waiting, hoping for a signal. Then it came. Emergency beacon detected in the atmosphere. Pod signature, Elon Musk. No one could believe it, but Kai did. He stood, tears running like falling stars, a radiant smile lighting his face. Dad's home. 3 hours later, off the coast of California. The pod door hissed open. Elon stepped out, legs trembling but firm. In his hand was a sealed container holding the Apausa sample, etched with glowing blue veins, identical to Kai's stone. He looked skyward. Apausa's trajectory altered by 0.9 degrees, he whispered. No impact risk. Kai ran to him, threw his arms around his father. No words were needed. Their eyes said everything. Earth had been saved. Not by machines alone, but by a dream shared between two hearts, a father and a son. Morning broke over Bel Air, sunlight piercing through the glass, casting golden rays onto Elon's desk. In his hand, the same lucky stone Kai had once given him. Across the table, Kai sat quietly, turning his own stone between his fingers, identical in shape, color, and glow. Too identical to be coincidence. Elon didn't recall ever returning the stone to Kai. Kai was sure he'd only ever found one, buried in the sand at Big Sur. Yet somehow, they each held one now. And a third stone, found inside the core of the Apausa sample, identical still. Do you remember the moment you found yours? Elon asked, voice soft like morning fog. Kai nodded. On the beach at Big Sur, it was almost buried, but when I pulled it up, it looked unreal. Elon exhaled, placing his stone next to the Apausa sample. Within its cracked core, the same stone again. Dad, Kai whispered, this can't be a coincidence. Elon nodded. He no longer felt surprise, only certainty, as if everything unfolding now had already been stitched together by fate, waiting for the right moment to manifest. Maybe, he said slowly, dreams aren't just predictions, but memories. Memories from the future. Kai frowned. You mean, like the future already happened? Elon looked at him. Maybe it did, in a different timeline, and what we're dreaming are echoes, warnings sent back by versions of ourselves who've already lived it. He walked to the main screen and pulled up a new simulation, not of asteroids, but of time streams. Ribbons of light twisted, diverged, then rejoined. At the center, marked with Guardian's symbol, was a looping nexus and the stone. "See this?" he said. "Everything began the day you walked into my office with that rocket model. If you hadn't, I might have never stopped, never opened up about Nevada, never shared the room. And if not for you, I wouldn't have changed the plan." Kai looked at the display, a strange calm washing over him, as if he'd passed through a door and found himself, but from somewhere else. "Do you think the stone is the key?" he asked. Elon turned, his eyes shining. "I think it's a symbol, or maybe a tool. Maybe it carries a special magnetic field. Maybe it resonates with brain activity during dreams. Or maybe," he paused, "it's simply the embodiment of our connection between father and son." Kai whispered, "Love creates resonance." "Exactly," Elon said. "Not technology, not AI. It was emotion that changed the future." Kai sat, still holding his stone. "If that's true, then what does it mean? Could there be other futures? Ones where the asteroid hit? Or where you didn't come back?" Elon was silent. Then slowly he nodded. "Yes, but that's why we choose and believe." "Believe in what?" Kai asked. Elon smiled. "Believe that the future isn't fixed. It's not a film on repeat. It's a song we're still composing. And even the smallest note, a question like, 'Dad, are you okay?' can rewrite the whole melody." Kai squeezed the stone, feeling its cool weight against his skin. He remembered his final dream, the one where his father drifted helplessly in space, lost, until the stone touched his hand and pulled him back. He whispered, "Maybe we send ourselves the message." Elon heard him, but didn't reply. He simply walked over and placed his own stone beside the one from Apau's and Kai's. 3 stones, one from space, one from the sea, one from somewhere else. 3 points, Elon said. 3 moments, past, present, future, twisting together like DNA. And we are just the ones translating the code. Kai nodded, feeling peace for the first time in a long while. That night, they didn't work. Elon took out his phone and messaged the NASA team. On hold. "I need time with my family." And Kai placed his stone in a small wooden box beside the Guardian model on his desk. Looking up at the stars glowing on the ceiling, he whispered, "If the future can be changed, I promise I'll change it with love." And somewhere, in another timeline, his future self was smiling back. It was late at night. In Kai's bedroom, the gentle light of the night lamp glowed softly over the corner of the desk, where the lucky stone rested quietly beside the model of the Guardian spacecraft. No longer just a design, but now a symbol of an entire journey. Kai was fast asleep, breathing evenly, one hand still resting on the small wooden box that held the stone. Outside the window, the Bel Air sky was filled with stars, as if the universe itself had drifted into slumber after a long, silent battle. In the room next door, Elon sat quietly by the window, his gaze lost in the void beyond. In front of him was a dark screen. The laptop had been shut off for the first time in weeks. No more lines of code, no more gravitational charts or orbital impact simulations. Only stillness, and something quietly growing in his chest, a simple yet profound feeling he hadn't touched in a long time. Peace. He found himself thinking back to the early days of Project Phoenix, sleepless nights, the mental battles with his engineering team, the anxious dreams, and that one terrifying moment when he nearly lost his life in the cold vacuum of space. But the one thing that kept him from giving up wasn't the fate of humanity. It was a 9-year-old boy who walked into his office one day, carrying a model rocket and eyes filled with hope. Elon stood up quietly and opened Kai's door. The boy was still sleeping peacefully, his face wrapped in dreams. Elon sat beside him, gently brushing a few strands of messy hair aside. "Thank you," he whispered, "not for saving me, but for reminding me what truly matters." The next morning when Kai woke up, his father was already waiting at the breakfast table, with 2 bowls of cereal and a rare, unguarded smile. "I've taken a few weeks off," Elon said softly. "No conferences, no rockets, just you." Kai blinked in disbelief. "Really? Really?" Elon chuckled. "And if you're still interested, we'll start a new project." "What kind of project?" Elon handed him a brand new notebook. On the cover was one word handwritten: "Future, written by you." Kai threw his arms around his father, eyes shimmering. "I'll become the best engineer, just like you." Elon hugged him close, voice low but steady. "You don't have to be like me, just be you. And never forget, what keeps the world moving isn't propulsion or silicon, it's love." The story didn't end with a grand launch or a groundbreaking invention. It ended with a hug, a look, a promise shared between father and son, that no matter how many branches time might twist into, no matter how many versions of the future may unfold, somewhere, at some point where love is given, the world will be saved, not by technology, but by humanity.